Hey guys, today I wanted to go over the documentary Shiny Happy People. This is going to be part one to multiple parts of this documentary. And for right now, I think I'm going to start doing it on Mondays, right now that I can't get to Dollar Tree while we're fixing these things with the vehicles. And once I'm able to get back to the Dollar Tree and things like that, if y'all are enjoying these documentaries, I'll like recaps and my takes of them and things like that, and facts that I see are there or things that I think they're saying that is not facts, then we will continue to do them and maybe do them on a Tuesday and Wednesday every week. So like I said, this is just going to be a little bit of my input. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I want to hopefully share, especially with this documentary, my intake coming out of the Pentecostal church and comparing it to the IBLP. You can see a lot of things that relate, but also when things don't relate, you can see things that the Pentecostal church put in that is similar to the IBLP, just not the same way, or they tweak it in their own ways, which every denomination and every religion is going to do. So I may have to cut this video off in a few minutes. It looks like it's about to rain outside. It's kind of windy, but I thought we would get some fresh air before the rain hits. So let's go ahead and jump in on this, and if you guys like this content, leave me a comment down below or thumbs it up so I know to keep filming these for y'all, that I know that y'all like them. So yeah, and you will notice I am not bringing my children around these videos. Mason, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. He's 7 months old. But my older children, they will not be involved in these videos or watching the documentaries, these videos. I just don't see that they are fit for children. And also another disclaimer is, you will notice that I am saying CP. If you know what, you probably know what CP is if you watch any kind of Without a Crystal Ball or documentaries, things like that. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about with even having to look it up. But I don't want to have a block on my channel saying P or CP. So we're going to use P for that and CP for another one, and you'll know what I'm talking about more that we get into this. So let's go ahead and jump in and not keep rambling on. So like I said, it's not going to be very much today, but I thought I would go ahead and upload it for y'all. And this video will probably go up today, just so I can see how y'all like it. And if y'all do like it, then I'll continue to film more for y'all. So, sorry, I'm kind of using the same notebook that I'm writing my book in to take notes. So, like I said, it's called Shiny Happy People. You can watch it on Amazon Prime if you have it. Also, I believe you can rent it, but it was free to us with Amazon Prime. So, first off, I want to say, like I've already mentioned, every religion, every domination, they're going to mention a lot about Josh Duggar because this is a Duggar documentary. Every generation, not every generation, every denomination, every religion is going to have a Josh Duggar. And P and CP. Every religion, every domination, you're not going to see it in every church that you go to, but I can promise you between the Catholics, the Baptists, the IBLP, the Pentecostal, any other religion out there, there will be at least one that is involved in those types of things. It's just the reality, and I hate to say it, it's what this world is coming to, but just be aware that there's a lot of it going around in this world, even here in Louisiana, close to our home, within a few hours of us, some of them within an hour. There's been some arrests made on those things as well. So just be aware, even in the southern places like we are in Louisiana, it's going on. So just be aware that not just the IBLP has those types of people. I also want to mention the Josh Duggar. They're calling it the Joshua generation. I do believe that documentary had a agenda that they were pushing, saying with the Joshua generation, basically what it is they take these homeschooled children, Christian homeschooled families, they raise up their children to become leaders of the world. And I do believe they were pushing agenda because they took people from TikTok, they took people from YouTube that talk about God on their pages and called them the Joshua generation. Not everyone is the Joshua generation. Some people just like to spread the word of God, because sometimes you may have a man next door or a man that pops up in your channel and has never heard about God. So I don't believe that all of these people are in the Joshua generation, but I do believe they were pushing that in that documentary, and I hated to see that because not all of it's bad, but at the same time, I hate for people to use it as an agenda to get on top of the world, if you see what I'm saying, or to push you other places. So, the next thing I want to cover is the blanket training. So, if you've never heard of blanket training, I highly suggest you do research into it. It is not something that I would recommend to anyone. I consider it, and it is, abuse. So, I'm going to explain to you, because I have done research on it over the years after hearing what's come out with the Duggars and things like that. And basically what blanket training is, you take a baby about 6 months old. The IBLP believes once your child is 6 months old that you're allowed to start spanking your child. Sorry if you hear the weather. And so what they do is when their child hits about 6 months old, they lay a blanket out on the floor. Say I'm taking Mason, and we're going to use him because he's a month older than 6 months. So say I'm laying a blanket on the floor, and I say, Mason, come here, Mason, come here, Mason. It's playtime, Mason. And I lay Mason on the floor on this blanket. I put a toy in front of him, and as soon as he comes toward the toy, I pull it backwards and I slap him. And that's what they do. That is blanket training. They get the child's hopes up. When the child goes after something that they want, they slap them, or they do whatever they want to them. At 6 months old. His size, a little bit younger. Like I said, do your research into it. But when you hear, if you ever watch the Duggars and you hear about blanket training, that's what it is. Be aware before you go into these groups. They're calling it blanket training, but is it really training or is it abuse? And for like, since I was Pentecostal for the longest time. Sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted because it's the first time I've done something like this. As y'all know, I was Pentecostal for about 4 years in my previous relationship, and I left. But every Pentecostal church is different, just like every other church is going to be different. You're going to go to one Pentecostal church, and it's going to be completely different than the next 3 Pentecostal churches. But the church that we went to, when Cooper was a baby, they teach you, do not hold your baby all the time. Do not rock your baby to sleep. Because then you will never be able to get your child to sleep on its own. I can 100% tell you, I regret that. I listened to everything they told me, and I regret not rocking Cooper to sleep as a baby. I still do to this day. Mason, I rock him to sleep every night, and it makes me feel guilty, because I believed this. And then now looking on the outside, there was nothing wrong with rocking my child to sleep and holding my child. So, they all have their twists. They do blanket training. They tell us not to rock our baby to sleep. Yeah, I'm not putting my hands on my child, but at the same time, they have something similar, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm kind of glancing at my notes. The IBLP also says, do not allow children to think about what's in their hearts. They don't deal with personal problems. If, say, I was 10 years old, now let's say 13, and I have a crush on this boy, I'm not allowed to have that crush in my heart because it's not a desire from God. Say, I want to do something for myself. I want to go shopping. I can't think about that because it's myself. I have to think of others. They can never think about themselves and their well-being because everything they do affects someone else. And that's what they teach. The Holts. That's another thing I did not agree with. If you have not heard of this situation, it just recently came to light. Bobby Holt and Jim Holt. Jim is the husband, Bobby is the wife. Well, don't know how it is now, but Jim basically wants to take down the IBLP. But Jim was best friends with Jim Bob Duggar, and when Josh's stuff came and hit the fan, Jim Bob and Jim Holt were talking to each other. Jim Holt supposedly helped Jim Bob, and now he wants to take down the IBLP. And not to mention, Jim Holt just had 2 10-year protection, protection orders placed against him by his wife and his son. I don't know about y'all, but I know in the state of Louisiana, you can barely even get a 6-month protection order. So for them to be able to get a 10-year protection order, that says something. And I hate that at the end of that documentary, they did not put some type of disclaimer, because they were still, it was like 1 day to the end of production from what I've heard, and when this came out, they still had time to type up a little sentence and put the truth out there, and they didn't. I think they did a very good job on it, but at the same time, there were a few things like the Joshua generation and disclaimers with this situation they could have put in the end, to where, because Bobby is sitting there with Jim Holt this whole time, just looking up at him, agreeing with what he says, looking at him, what do I say? And at the end of this documentary, she now has a 10-year protection order. So now she's looking back, watching this, what have I done? You know what I mean? So it kind of makes her look bad in an image, but at the same time, she didn't know this was going to happen 2 months prior when she filmed this documentary. When the Duggar daughters were I'm not going to say SA, Jim Bob covered up the whole thing. The only reason Josh Duggar got caught was because he continued to do it with other people outside of his family and watching it as an adult. That's the only reason he got caught. If he would have stopped as a child after he had done what he did to his sisters, he probably never would have gotten caught. But luckily, and I hate to say it, thankfully he continued doing it, because now his wife and his children are safe from him and his family and his sisters and everyone. And then the last part we're going to get into, while Joshua Duggar's trial was going on, how surprisingly, Jim Bob Duggar runs for Senate of Arkansas, trying to, I guess, be in the spotlight, so Josh was kind of forgotten about. I don't know, but it kind of makes me wonder. And then, oops, my paper decided to fall, me. The IBLP, their whole goal was to have as many children as they could, because they believe the more children you have, the closer you are to God, or the more important you are to God. And they were going to take these children, just like the Joshua generation, build up all of these homeschooled children, and put them as leaders in the world so they could take over the United States of America. That was the ultimate goal of the IBLP. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this little take on my first part of the Shiny Happy People documentary, and I'll see you guys in the next part.